but I had a friend ask me today what I thought the difference was between us, where I struggled with weight, had 170 pounds to lose, and she's just been going up and down the same 5 to 10 since high school. This was my response.
And that is, I think, based on my experience and the people that I love around me who have also struggled with issues, this is a very avoidant situation. And it's not what we want to hear. We don't want to hear we are fat because we have made the choice to stay fat. We want to be victims of our circumstance. We want to say, I'm fat because I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. That was my storyline for 24 years. I was diagnosed with it with my first pregnancy. I've got polycystic ovarian syndrome. I can't lose weight. It's nearly impossible for me to lose weight, but I've lost 170 pounds. So I guess we know that storyline wasn't true. But for 24 years, it's what I clung to because it helped me avoid taking responsibility for why I was fat. And when I start to take responsibility for why I'm fat, then I have to admit that there are things I need to take care of that a pill can't solve. Eating well can't solve. Exercising alone can't solve, because I tried all of those things and I couldn't stick with it. It works for people who aren't avoidant, right? The non-avoidant people, that works for. I'm an avoidant personality, coupled with the fact that we don't want to take responsibility for why we are the way that we are and why we're making the choices that we make. So it's easy to blame it on this, that, or the other thing that are all external, right? And stay in that victim mentality. Why? Because I don't think I'm worthy. I don't think I'm worthy, nor do I have the energy, nor have I seen it modeled for me on how to overcome those tendencies. So yeah, I have an avoidant personality. It doesn't just show up in weight loss. It shows up in other areas of my life, right? I don't just have an addictive personality. I don't just have trauma. I have all of these things. But you know what I do have? I have a very good brain that works very hard for me. And when I sit back and I look and I take responsibility and I say, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. I have a choice. I either become the victim of that or I say I am the victor. This will not define me. This is part of what makes me special. This is part of what helps me grow, my ability to overcome this, my ability to rise. Because we are all dealt things that if we had a choice, we wouldn't have, right? And we don't all fall victim to them. So why do we keep letting this narrative go to the point that it kills us in many cases? It takes us away from our loved ones. It keeps us from engaging in the joy that is our birthright of being on this planet. Why do we do that? Why do we avoid? Why don't we take responsibility? I'll tell you why. Because we don't want to do that work. And why don't we want to do that work? Because that work hurts. That work has pain attached to it, and we are avoiding the pain at the expense, literally, of our lives. Literally. Had I kept going the way I was going, I would have died an early death. And I'm not going to say I'm avoiding an early death, but I can say I am doing everything to give myself the best shot to not do that. That I can say. I couldn't have said that 3 years ago. 3 years ago, my husband was asking me to lose weight, not because of how I looked, but because he didn't want to lose me. And that was not good enough of a reason because I wanted to avoid the pain and the responsibility. I was afraid of trying to claim my worthiness and finding out I wasn't worthy of that worthiness. I was afraid of proving that voice in my head right all along. And of course, it's ridiculous now looking back. I know I was worthy, but I didn't believe it because my whole life had told me, not my whole life, but my whole formative life told me I wasn't. There was so much proof I wasn't. that I never then felt safe enough to prove to myself that I was. And then I ran out of the energy to do it. And then I ran out of the belief and trust in myself that I could do it. And then I just didn't want to. Now I'm not avoiding the pain. I'm avoiding the shame of the situation I've gotten myself into. The embarrassment of saying I'm going to try to lose weight and failing yet again, so I just don't try. This is why, and it is not easy to fix this. You know, I could take a pill to balance my brain. I could take a GLP-1 to curb those addictive tendencies. I could get on medication to fix X, Y, and Z, but I have to show up and actually do those things, right? I have to take the drugs. I've got to make myself take that shot. I've got to go to the gym because I need to have a healthy bone. So if I fall and break a hip, I don't die a year later like the statistics at this age say I will. I've got to do those things. And if I've got an avoidant behavior patterning, I'm not going to do it unless I do the work to overcome the triggers that put me in that avoidant behavior. And that's not woo-woo. Everybody's like, that's woo-woo. That's like, oh, you're playing out of here. No, I'm not. I am not being woo-woo when I do the work to heal the reason I let these external triggers have control of those tendencies. I've got to stop avoiding by going in and doing the work. And that work isn't, I've got to go through a 12-step program where I show up at somebody's door who hurt me and tell them I forgive them. I can do that work sitting here in my office with a journal, in a meditative state, in prayer, on my own. But I've got to not avoid the feelings. And that is not woo-woo. That is healing. And that is why I am worthy of healing. I am worthy of it. I am worthy of taking that time to do it. And I'm not going to let the external world tell me, just take a pill for that. Because guess what? I won't take that pill. I won't. Because I've got avoidant personality issues. And my avoidant personality issues are rooted in my lack of worthiness. And I've got to go back. And I've got to do the work to heal that. Because changing my thought about it, I can do that until I get triggered. And then the new thoughts come in, and then I get off course again. And then I go, see, this is what I do. This is what I do every damn time. This is what I do. I'm just proving to myself again, I don't even think I'm worthy. And every time I tell myself, this is a bunch of crap, this healing, this going in and doing the healing work, it's a bunch of crap. You know, other people are sticking to their weight loss plans and they're not having issues. They're losing the weight and they're not doing all this stuff where they sit and they heal and, you know, they're not doing that. But you don't know what their journey looks like. You don't know where they transferred that. They might have lost the weight and now they've transferred it to an overspending habit. Or they're drinking at night at home alone until they fall into a drunken stupor sleep. You don't know where else that addictive, avoidant behavior pattern has shifted to because they didn't do the work to heal it. You don't know that story. You just see the story that they're telling you. So you can't base your journey on something you don't know the reality of. You can't do that. All you can do is do the work to heal yourself so you cannot shift it to another pattern of behavior so that you can claim your worth because that is your right, not what the world told you when you were being formed, when those thought patterns were being created in your brain. Because you know what? You can do hard things because you've done hard things. You've done much harder things than this. Every day you make the choice to get out of bed and put one foot in front of the other is you claiming your worth, even when you don't feel worthy. And if you can do that, my friend, you can go back and heal. You can go back and claim forgiveness for yourself, forgiveness for what happened to trigger you. You can start to do the work to trust yourself again, to not be in avoidant behavior patterns. Because that's what it was for me. And that's the difference between my friend